I used to believe that loving someone meant losing yourself a little, that if you loved deeply, you had to bend, to soften, to disappear just enough so the other person could feel strong. I believed that was what good women did. I believed that was love. My name is Elena, and I am 34 years old. For many years, I did not realize how much of myself I was slowly giving away. I only learned the truth after everything fell apart. At the beginning, my life felt simple. Not perfect, but warm. I woke up early, made coffee, and listened to the quiet sounds of the morning. I believed in routines, shared meals, small plans for the future. I believed that love lived in ordinary moments. In the evenings, I cooked dinner while the house slowly filled with shadows. Sometimes we talked about our day. Sometimes we sat in silence. And I thought that silence meant comfort. I thought it meant peace. I felt safe because I felt needed. Someone depended on me. Someone waited for me. Someone's life felt easier because I was there. That feeling made me proud. It made me feel useful, important, loved. At least, that is what I told myself. In the beginning, appreciation came in small ways. A smile, a thank you. A look that said, I couldn't do this without you. Those moments were enough to keep me going. I did not ask for more, because I was afraid to seem demanding. I learned very early to adjust my plans. If they were tired, I understood. If they forgot, I forgave. If they changed their mind, I changed mine too. I told myself, this is what partnership looks like. I told myself, love means patience. So I waited, and waited. I waited for conversations that never came. I waited for promises to feel real again. I waited for the feeling that someone was choosing me, not just accepting me. When something hurt me, I stayed quiet. I explained their behavior to myself before they ever had to. I said they were stressed, busy, confused. I protected their image, even inside my own heart. I became very good at understanding everyone else. But no one was trying to understand me. Slowly, without noticing, my world grew smaller. My needs felt heavy, like something I should not carry out loud. My feelings became something I managed alone, late at night. When the house was quiet and no one could see me cry. There was no big betrayal. No shouting, no slammed doors. That is what made it so confusing. The pain came quietly. It came when promises were forgotten and never mentioned again. It came when I spoke, and no one really listened. It came when important moments passed, and I realized I was the only one who remembered them. I remember one evening clearly. I had been waiting all day, not for something big, just time together. I had cooked a meal I knew they liked. I had set the table carefully. I had imagined us talking, laughing, feeling close again. But the evening disappeared. The phone was more interesting. The television was louder than my voice. My words floated in the air and fell without landing anywhere. I sat there and smiled. I always smiled. Inside, I asked myself a question I was afraid to answer. Am I asking for too much? That question stayed with me. I asked it when my plans were always the first to change. I asked it when my emotions felt inconvenient. I asked it when I felt tired but kept going anyway. I loved deeply. I gave fully. And I told myself that one day, someone would notice. But love, I learned, does not always grow when you give more. Sometimes, it grows quieter. Sometimes, it becomes comfortable taking, and I let it. Because I was afraid of what would happen if I stopped. I was afraid of being alone. The strange thing is, I was already lonely. Lonely in conversations where my voice was small. Lonely in rooms full of people. Lonely in a life built around others' needs. Still, I stayed. I told myself that love was not supposed to be easy. That strong women endure. That sacrifice is beautiful. That if I just tried harder, things would feel right again. But nights grew longer. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, listening to breathing that felt farther and farther away from me. I wondered when love had turned into effort. When warmth had turned into distance, I missed myself. I missed the woman who laughed freely. The woman who spoke without fear. The woman who believed her feelings mattered. But I did not know how to bring her back. So I kept giving. Until one day, in the middle of a crowded room, surrounded by people who knew my name, I felt something heavy and clear settle inside my chest. I felt invisible. That was the moment I understood. I was alone, even in love. I did not leave in a storm. There was no screaming, no dramatic scene, no final sentence that sounded powerful. The truth is, I did not feel powerful at all. I felt tired. Not the kind of tired that sleep can fix. The kind of tired that lives inside your bones. After years of being strong in silence, I remember the exact moment my heart became quiet. It was not anger. It was not hate. It was exhaustion. I was standing in the kitchen, holding a cup of tea I did not even want. The house was full of normal sounds: water running, a door closing, a phone buzzing somewhere. Life was moving around me like I was not part of it. And in that small moment, I thought, love should not feel like disappearing. That sentence did not come from my mind. It came from something deeper, something I had ignored for too long. For years, I kept hoping things would change. I kept telling myself, maybe tomorrow will be softer. Maybe next week will be better. Maybe they will finally see me. But hope can become a trap when it keeps you in the same pain. That day, I stopped waiting. Not because I became brave overnight, but because I finally accepted the truth I had been avoiding. Some people do not change, not because they cannot, but because they do not need to. They were comfortable. And I was the one paying the cost. The hardest part was not leaving. The hardest part was admitting that I had stayed in a place that was slowly breaking me. I had held on so tightly, thinking love meant endurance. I had confused loyalty with self-loss. When I finally chose to step back, it felt like walking away from a life I had built with my own hands. At first, my boundaries were small. I stopped explaining everything. I stopped rushing to fix every mood. I stopped asking for love like a quiet beggar. I said less. I watched more, and the more I stopped chasing, the clearer everything became. The distance did not scare them. My silence did not make them curious. My pain did not make them kinder. It was like I had been holding a rope alone for years, and when I finally let go, I realized no one had been pulling from the other side. That realization hurt in a way I cannot fully describe, because it meant I had not just been unloved, I had been used to. I remember sitting on my bed one night, my hands shaking, my chest tight, feeling like I was about to do something wrong. I whispered to myself, I stayed longer than I should have, because leaving felt like failure. In my mind, leaving meant I was not strong enough. Leaving meant I did not try hard enough. Leaving meant I was giving up. But the real failure was staying in a place where I kept shrinking, just to keep the peace. So I stepped away, not to punish anyone, not to prove anything, not to create drama. I stepped away to save myself. And when I did, the world became strangely quiet. The first morning after I truly pulled back, I woke up and the air felt different. The room was the same, but I was not. There were no messages waiting for me. No soft apology. No "where are you?" No "I miss you." Just silence. At first, that silence felt like rejection. It made my stomach hurt. It made my mind race. It made me want to run back and say, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. Please don't forget me. Because when you have been emotionally hungry for a long time, even a small piece of attention can feel like survival. But then, slowly, I started to notice something else inside the silence. Peace. Not happiness. Not yet. But peace. I could drink my coffee without feeling nervous. I could breathe without waiting for someone's mood to change. I could sit with my own thoughts, even when they were painful. I began to understand the difference between being alone and being lonely. Before, I was lonely with people. Now, I was alone, but I was finally with myself. Still, healing did not come like a movie scene. There were days I missed them so much, my chest felt heavy. Days I cried while folding laundry, because I remembered how hard I tried to make love work. There were days guilt came back like a shadow. I thought, what if I am the problem? What if I expected too much? What if I ruined everything? And then I would remember the truth. Asking to be seen is not asking for too much. Asking for respect is not selfish. Asking for love that feels safe is not a mistake. Little by little, I stopped blaming myself for wanting basic care. That was the beginning of my Then came the hardest lesson. Forgiveness. For a long time, I thought forgiveness meant going back. It meant accepting everything again. It meant reopening the door. But I learned something different. Forgiveness is for peace, not for reunion. I forgave not because what happened was okay, but because I did not want to carry anger forever. I did not want my future to be controlled by my past. So I released the need to be understood by people who never tried to understand me. I released the fantasy of them suddenly changing. I released the version of myself who believed love had to hurt to be real. I did not forget what happened, but I stopped letting it define me. And something beautiful happened after that. My life became quieter, but stronger. I started doing small things for myself again. I took walks without rushing. I listened to music that made me feel alive. I looked in the mirror and tried to speak gently to the woman looking back. Some days I still felt broken, but even in those days, I did not abandon myself. That was new. That was everything. And if you are listening to my story right now, maybe you understand this kind of love, the kind where you give too much, and you keep hoping it will finally be enough. Maybe you stayed longer than you should have. Maybe you kept forgiving because you were afraid of losing people. Maybe you learned to be quiet because your feelings felt unwelcome. If that is you, I want you to hear this clearly. You are not weak for loving deeply. But you also do not have to disappear to be loved. One day, choosing yourself will not feel selfish. It will feel like breathing. It will feel like coming home. And in the end, I did not lose love. I found myself. Because healing is quiet, but it is powerful.